You know, there are constructive ways to engage with the past, and I think, you know, looking at from what I've observed, at least from a distance, looking at Ukraine over the last, you know, I would say maybe since Maidan, since the beginning of the war in 2014, I see sort of two parallel processes in culture, and one of those is, as you said, kind of recovering certain pages of the past which have been erased. You know, and we know that for many decades in the Soviet period, parts of Ukrainian history were just destroyed, erased, you know, pages torn from the book of Ukrainian culture. And we've seen, obviously since 91, we've seen those processes, and even before 91 actually, of recovering the past. But especially recently, there's been a move to, I think, make the writers, let's say, of the 1920s, accessible, visible, and it's not just about academics, you know, finding things in archives. It's also about people communicating with the public. You know, so the work of people like Irina Tsimbal or you know, Vera Hayeva, Rostislav Semkiv, and people, academics who are kind of communicating, republishing stuff that's been missing for so long. And I think what that's doing is, on the one hand, it's of course filling in gaps that need to be filled in, but it also provides, you know, the history of Ukrainian culture is full of models of resistance. You know, if you look at the way Lesya Ukrainka turns to certain classical topics to talk about empire, you know, she talks about the Roman Empire, to talk about the Russian Empire, or if we look at Khvelyovy, or if we look at Stus, and so many of these figures, you know, Ukrainian lit writers are experts in this kind of resistance to colonial violence, and I think that's why it's been so important to turn back to those things. But I also see it in the work of the contemporary writers, you know, the way that they're going back to the past, and, you know, a couple of really powerful examples of that, I think, are two novels written by two contemporary novelists. So Victoria Amelina's Dim для дома. Victoria, obviously, someone that we all knew and loved and miss very, very dearly. And her novel was a very, I think, interesting and brave and naughty kind of exploration of the past of Ukraine and also of this city in all its ambiguity and all its complexity. Or, for example, Sofia Andruchowicz's Amadoka, which is, you know, I think one of the great achievements in Ukrainian prose in recent years. And again, it's a novel which is not afraid to talk about the difficult parts of the parts of the past which are not so heroic, but also to deal with the victimhood of Ukrainians as well. And I think I see some similarities with Georgi's work, for example, because both of those writers, they're looking at the personal level, the psychological level, you know, the loss of memory, but also the social level, the political level, and how all these levels of memory are interlinked. You know, so I think, and those writers, I think they can provide very, very useful models also for contemporary Ukrainian society. You know, the writers are always at the avant-garde of these processes, and, you know, they can really, they have really important things to say to the wider society about this as well.